You've heard the same things a million times. Save your money, buy a house, invest for 40 years. Meanwhile, you sitting over here can barely afford rent. And there's people out here getting rich putting $20 into a meme coin. All right, let me break down why I don't think traditional advice feels right anymore. The advice people have given has not changed. The classic advice that we hear was built for different times. They will tell you, stay with the company, work hard, move up the ranks. But nowadays, these companies, they will fire you just so they can pay the next person less, honestly. And we got rising costs every single year going up, but the income is staying the same. It's not changing. And investing is great and all, but when you have no money left over after rent, loans, grocery, and healthcare, what are you gonna do? The main problem right now is income. It's not spending. It's none of that. Saving doesn't work when rent is 50% of your monthly income. Let's be real. Honestly, I think the best way, you gotta optimize your income as much as possible. Not buying that latte or that smoothie every other day is not gonna help you as much as people act. My take, look for a different job every couple years, look for an increase in pay, 10, 30%. Anything is better. Take your time, develop some skills, search up, do research, search up what's getting paid, what skills are needed right now. We got AI booming. What skills can you develop around that these companies need? Learn to build something that you can scale rather than trading your hours for minimum wage. And that leads me into the debt that this generation is in. The average debt right now is 34K. That's crazy. It's cliche, but you definitely need to slow that down as much as possible. If it's credit, use strategies, pay it off as heavily as possible. If you can, if your credit's decent, open a card with a different bank with your intro APR for 15 months, 12 months, and transfer your balance so you can have 12 months of no interest pay on that. If it's other debt, maybe you could look around with different companies that do this or credit unions. Get a loan with the lower interest. At the end of the day, you will be paying less, but the point stays the same. You do need to pay that off as quick as possible. That is something that holds people back so much. Honestly, this is something that people are so worried about, but I would say housing right now is terrible. Skip buying a house for now. No one's going to buy a house when their average home is 400 bands. Focus on building up your money, building up your capital. You know, Look at moving in with people close to you, look into house hacking. And if you could work remotely or if you do work remotely, look at cheaper areas. Because back to my point, that's another thing. It's hard to do anything when your rent is 50% of your income, 50, 60%. And that leads me into the retirement. You got to reframe your look on that. Our generation is so behind in savings for retirement. I'm going to pull up a chart and just look at the numbers. It's insane, actually. I still recommend if you're with an employer, they have a 401k, max that out as much as possible. I mean, at the end of the day, that's free money you can be getting. After that, look into Roth IRAs, use that, invest into that. Because, if you have money in that, you could withdraw that money that you have put in if you ever need it before the age of 65. Only the money you have put in, not earnings growth or anything, only the money you have put into it over time. Now, this is my personal belief. I'm definitely no financial advisor. You can look up your own research, but I believe that boomers had way cheaper real estate. That was for their generation. And I believe the real estate of our generation is crypto. Look into it, learn what things do. And if you believe there's value there, start putting money into it. The good thing about that, you can start with $10. You can build up over time and everything counts. And above all that, I told you guys, you got to take into oh shit. You got to take into consideration your mental health for real. Your mental health is the most important. Making financial decisions when you're stressing out over money it's not gonna work. You need at least a little cushion, so you can have some peace of mind in life and you will make better decisions tremendously, for real. There's no perfect strategy, but if your mental health is bad, your decisions are going to be bad, straight up. And honestly, social media, watching all these conflicting gurus, you're getting all types of different information, but honestly, these dudes are going to they're going to tell you what's best for them, to be honest with you. Someone is not always in the same position as you. What I'm trying to give is like general advice that you can take any little piece and do your research, take it in. You got to use your own brain sometimes. That's a problem of this generation. People don't think for themselves, but you have to think for yourself because your situation is not the same as everyone else. So understand what you could specifically help yourself with and stick to it. Don't go around scrolling videos, changing one thing one day to the next. Like, it's not going to work. And even if you haven't figured out none of these things, you're not failing at life. The system has failed us, but that don't mean it's useless. That don't mean there's nothing you can do. Take the things you can do, take some of these strategies and implement them. You just need to do different things than the ones that they're trying to sell you, for real. Just think about it. If there's one thing you could touch on this year, what would it be? Your debt, your income, your savings, your spending, for your situation. So which one would make the most change in your life? Act on that.